Let's take a few breaths. Exhale first, and take a deep breath in. And let go. Another deep breath, breathe in. Let go. One more deep breath. And let it go. So once again, welcome to our Sunday morning here at the center. I'm Reverend Elisha Christopher. I'm the spiritual director here. And our theme for this month and for the year 2024 is a grand rising. Right. Yes. And, as I've spoken to already in the last couple weeks, I really feel that in a big way, this year's theme is an invitation for each one of us to rise up into the people that we came here to be. You know, I'm someone who for most of my life had a story that I just did not fit into the world and felt very out of place just about everywhere and lived with major anxiety most of my life. And in 2020, when, the world turned upside down, and the world's anxiety level rose to meet mine, I went, oh, I got this. And oddly enough, in the last couple years, I've really found myself continuously reciting these words that I hear Reverend Deborah Johnson speak from the story of Esther all the time, that I am here for such a time as this. I felt like the reason I didn't feel like I fit into the world before 2020 is that I was made for the world that's emerging now. And I really believe that many of us in this current generation, and by this generation I mean if you're alive right now, because when the future looks back at this time, they're not going to think about the boomers and the millennials and the Zeds. They're going to think about the people who are alive right now. We are all one generation, right? That if you are alive in this generation of human history, you are here to be here for this time. And I really believe that each one of us comes into the world or is sent into the world or is brought here on purpose for a purpose. And I think that much of the discomfort and the dis-ease and the problems of our world that show up collectively and individually is because many of us don't know what our purpose is. That many of us are living based on the conditions, based on the stories, based on the history that surrounds us, not the truth of who we are that's seeking to be expressed into the world. This month, I'm participating in a book study group through Centers for Spiritual Living, the global organization, on the book The Four Pivots, written by Sean Jenwright. And this year, CSL is working with Dr. Sean in a big way. He's going to be our keynote speaker at our conference in February in Charleston. And the Four Pivots talks about what he thinks are the four basic shifts, little changes that we all need to make in order to heal the world. His focus is really on social justice and shifting that particular area of our world, but it really applies across the board. And today I actually just want to talk to you about the first two pivots in the book because I think they're a great place for all of us to start as we step into this year of grand rising. And before I get into these two, the thing that I love about the idea of a pivot, first it makes me think of dancing, which I think I want to dance through life. Let's all figure out how to do that. But a pivot is a very small shift in direction. It's just a little, like that. And the thing about a small change is if you're going for the long haul, if you're going for the long vision, if you're going for the destination, a little pivot in our perspective, a little pivot in our destination, even if it's 1 degree, 3,000 miles down the road, that's going to make all the difference in the world. Right? If you leave New York on an airplane, a 1 degree shift in trajectory is the difference between landing in Seattle or Los Angeles. Right? So little shifts can lead to big change in our life. Little shifts can lead to big change in the world. And so the first pivot Dr. Sean talks about is the pivot from lens to mirror. Oh. You get it. I don't need to explain it. But I'm gonna. So the pivot from lens to mirror is this idea that each one of us looks at the world automatically through the layers and lenses of our own thinking, through our family history, through our upbringing, through our different background, whatever it is, all the different intersections that exist within each one of us create the lens at which we look through the world. And oftentimes, our lived experience colors that lens so that more often than not, what we see is not what is, it's what we expect. Yes. Right? And turns out the human brain is actually organized in a way that you perceive the world that you expect, not the world as it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Could be problematic. So what he says is, and he goes into this in detail, but really for each one of us to start to check our lenses first. Just when I'm looking at the world and I'm in a conversation with someone, or I see someone say something on the news, or I read something about what's happening, or I have an interaction with another person, am I looking at it through my own stories? Am I looking at it through my own perspective? Am I looking at it through my own life experience and painting all these layers on top of what I'm seeing? Or we all have the opportunity to make the pivot and to look at the world as a mirror. That everything that is showing up in our life is there to reflect something back at us. That there's information, there's an invitation in every circumstance, in every situation, in everything that shows up, right? And science of mind philosophy tells us that the world that we see is a perfect reflection of what's happening in our collective consciousness. That's true on the individual level, and it's true on the collective level. Right? So there's a whole lot of stuff floating around in our collective consciousness that's manifesting all over the world, and we can either look at it through the lens of judgment, and I say this is wrong, or this is right, or these people are right, or these people are wrong, or this is what I like, or this is what I don't like, or we can look at it all as a mirror, as an invitation, and it's saying there's a piece of you in what's out there. And that each one of us holds a little piece of the puzzle. Each one of us is part of the cause of all the things that are happening in the world. So what happens then if we start to walk through our life looking at the world as a mirror instead of projecting our ideas on top of everything? How would that shift how you step into a conversation with someone else? How would that shift how you see what's happening in our community, in our nation, and in the world? Because it's real easy to point the finger out there and say, it's those people, that's the problem, it's this, it's da-da-da-da-da-da. Remember this whole thing? Yeah. So there's an invitation, and I think that part of this grand rising that we're all living through, as I said last week, and probably the week before that, and the week before that, and the week before that, Michael Beckwith reminds us, the pain pushes until the vision pulls. If the pain is, if you see in the world that the pain keeps to be rising up more and more and more and more, it's because we don't have a clear vision of where we are going. Or we do have a clear vision of where we're going, and we're not making the shifts and changes in our life, in our culture, in our world to move in that direction. And so we keep feeling the tension. And that a little shift in perspective in the long run could move us towards a greater vision. So just take a moment and think for your own life as you look at what's happening. If that thing that's up in your face that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you unhappy, was a mirror, what is it trying to show you? And just think about that for a minute. And that's the first pivot. The second pivot that I want to talk to you about today is the pivot from transactional to transformational. That we live in a world that has told us, taught us, sold us the story that everything is a transaction. right? That consciousness, that mindset has built a world where we put profit before people, profit before planet, right? Look at what's happening in the world. This transactional thinking is really the thing that's eating the world. And it's destroying many of us in many different ways. And we were in a book study this week, and we're talking about the second pivot, and it just landed in me somehow, some way, that I hadn't heard. This is my second time through the book. But I realized that so much of the negative self-talk that I live with in my own mind has to do with this story that I've bought into, that there's a transaction happening between me and you. Where I tell myself I'm not showing up enough, I didn't pray hard enough, I didn't return that, whatever it is, there's this story that we all live in that we're here to give and get, right? And that the pivot is to shift from transactional to transformational. To say, you know what, this is not about a transaction, this is us showing up in this place to be here for each other's transformation, to participate in the change together, to participate in the evolution that we're seeking to create, to be, to become. And for me, that little shift, transactional to transformational, I had to get off the call at the end and just go contemplate for a while, because I was like, oh, there's something in my own mind that I've bought into that's informing me about how I show up. And I really want to step up in this community, in my life and in the world, to be focused on being a person who's here for the transformation. And that means that we're here to show up. And to show up and let something happen. Let God show up. Let the transformation take place. Right? It's not about showing up because I agreed to be here on Sunday, so I'm going to come and give the talk and then go home because I did what you came here to get. Right? It's about showing up. And this is for all of us in all of our lives, right? To show up in the places where we've agreed to show up for the transformation, for the investment in the other people that we're engaging with, to participate in the healing. Because if we can all, again, clear off our lenses and start looking at the mirror of life, and then wash off this idea that we're here to get something from each other, and start to realize that we are here in the mutual interdependence with each other, and that we're here for each other's transformation. Because if we learn how to show up for each other in that way, then we get to be the transformational agents that the world needs, so that we can help build that world that works for everyone that we're always talking about, right? But we have to be the transformation. We have to live it. And start to throw away some of these old ideas that we've inherited from a paradigm that are not serving us. Right? So this year is our year of grand rising, where the invitation is here for all of us to step up and live and be in a whole new way. And the thing I got to say, community, is if I look back at our year of living out loud, and what we did here in the last year, follow the theme forward to a year of grand rising, we have got a year ahead of us. Right? So with that, I invite you to take another deep breath in. If it's comfortable, close your eyes. And take another deep breath. And as we breathe together, I just want to remind us once again that what I know is that there is one seamless presence that is living and breathing throughout the entirety of the universe. It is this one life, this one power, this one presence that is the creative intelligence that has been driving evolution for all of existence. It is this one power and this one presence that is the consciousness that is looking through the eyes of every living being, every person on this planet. That at the deep, subtle quantum level of the universe, everything is one thing. And from that infinite field of possibility, each one of us has emerged. All the conditions of the world, the entirety of existence has emerged from this field of oneness and differentiated into all the possibilities that are. Some of what has emerged is beautiful. Some of what has emerged, it's time to let go of. So let us first just ground into this knowingness that each one of us is part of the infinite field of existence, the oneness, the interconnectedness. And then to realize that from that, each one of us has emerged into this world with our uniqueness, with our individuality, with our gifts and talents, which we are here to live and be and become. So let's today open our minds to the possibility that each one of us is here on purpose, that each one of us holds a piece of the puzzle of the great dream that we are seeking to build together. Let us open our minds to be a place of transformation. Let's look at the world as a mirror reflecting back to us the information that we need to know so that we can rise up and be the people that we came here to be, to build the world that we want to see, to stand for truth, to be in the love of the divine with each other, bringing us back to this awareness that there is no separation between us, that no matter where we live, no matter where we were born, no matter what side of what border we were on, no matter how we identify, we are one global human family. We are one people. We are part of the earth life. We are one. And so I speak my gratitude for that truth above all things, that we can each remember the truth of who we are, that we can live and love and have our being in the divine, remembering that love is the source of all things. So as we move forward from this moment, let each one of us release any of the old lenses. Let us release any of these old ideas of transactional thinking. Let us release anything that has held us back from becoming the people that we came here to be. And let's remember that there is a power for good in this universe that has been working forever. And each one of us can be an opening through which that power for good reveals itself in the world. Let us be the agents of change and transformation. Let us be a people who see the truth in each other. And so with that, I just invite this prayer to land as we say together, and so it is.